So welcome to this episode of Crap No One Tells You. With me today is Mike Esposito. He's going to talk to us about the crap no one tells you about tech school.
Yes.
So let's just dive right in. What is some of the crap no one tells you about tech school?
The biggest thing is that you can go to college.
After tech school?
Yes. That's the biggest misnomer in, I think, the career and technical education field and area for most states in the United States here, is that you can go to college. It doesn't limit you in any way from being successful in post-education, in higher forms of education. And it doesn't also mean you're less smart than everybody else. I think that's number two. That's the number two thing on the list.
Yes. So I had someone that taught at a tech school. And it was one of those conversations we had frequently where she was like, no, a lot of our kids move on to do like really great things.
Yes.
And I was like, yeah. She was like, no, you don't understand. Other people don't seem to think that. And I'm like, yeah, but I've walked around the building. I've seen what these kids are doing. They're working on printers and cars and they're getting basic fundamental
sticking metal
skills
together and building houses. It's crazy.
Yes. Like they're doing all the things that are needed in society, right? Whether
Absolutely.
they go to college or not. Like,
yes.
I would argue, and this is just my personal opinion because, I don't know, maybe I'm too much of a Mike Rowe fan, but I think that we are too stuck in this mindset of, our kids have to go to college.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We had an electrician on one of these podcasts, and it was funny because he told the story when he was a union worker down in Philly. And there were all these people inside this office building. He was like, it was like 20 degrees outside. We were freezing. We were digging this trench for like high voltage. And someone in the office wrote a sign like 74 degrees and put it against the window. And one of the workers wrote $40 an hour and put it against. And he said, we never saw them in the window looking at us again, right?
Nope. And it kind of goes with that mentality. I think there's a big shift happening right now in the country. And I think over the last 10 years, it's really come out where they're saying, like the blue collar mentality is coming back. Mm-hmm. At the same time, your school districts and your colleges and stuff will still throw you the idea of, no, you don't want to do that. And you kind of take a step back and go, why?
Right.
And it comes down to they don't want to pay for it. I'll be brutally honest.
Is that what it is?
So,
okay.
So, tech right now in the country is booming. I think career and technical education especially. I taught for 3 years at a local tech school here.
What did you teach at the school?
I taught computer networking.
Okay.
So
still kind of in the tech space, but it's more the physical aspect of the tech.
Pretty much. Okay. So what I taught was students ages 15 to 18, boilerplate, entry-level IT certification. So we went through the CompTIA catalog. CompTIA is an international certification body that basically, when you hold these certificates, it just tells your employer, hey, you kind of know what you're doing.
Okay.
At least
we've learned the basics.
Yeah, at least in a theoretical point. Okay. If I point at something, you're going to know.
Which is what a college degree is.
Exactly.
You theoretically know something.
Exactly. So basically what I did was I had a 3-year program. I co-taught with another gentleman. And what we did was I taught A+, Network+, Security+. And we call that the holy trinity of like CompTIA certs. We kind of said, hey, if you guys and girls go get these certs, it's like the Swiss Army knife. Mm-hmm. You can apply for jobs. You can be recognized. People will come find you because they know that you're certified.
Like right out of high school.
Yes. So 18 years old. What I used to tell my students on day one is you want to be 22 at 18, right? Your friends can go to college.
Yep.
You don't have to do that if you don't want to. But don't think it's limiting you any more than their opportunities that they're getting, right? Because we're rushing you to the edge of something that should be happening 4 years later.
Yeah. It was kind of on that same line. Someone asked me, I was at a conference not too long ago, and it was for colleges, like education and stuff. And someone asked me the question, if someone applied for a job with you right now in the marketing field, what would be the most valuable degrees or certifications or whatever that they could bring you that would make you more likely to hire them? And everybody was expecting me to say some college degree, right? And I was like, no, the Google certifications. And they were like, what? And I'm like, if you go through and take all the Google certifications, I will probably have more use for you than if you graduate with a degree in marketing.
Exactly.
Like it's
100%. What I also told the kids was it doesn't show knowledge, it shows initiative, right? Society today, no matter what country I think you're in around the world, and this is my personal opinion, I think a lot of people are into instant gratification. They think if I walk out of my college or my high school, that automatically makes me employable. But what they're not taking into consideration is there's work ethic behind there, just understanding the background of their, like what they can and cannot do, what skills do you have. And I think a lot of people who I've met in my career are like, I have an MBA, I have this, I should be a manager making 6 figures a year. And you go, yeah, but you can't talk to people.
right.
So what do you mean you think you should be able to get this just because you have a piece of paper?
You have none of the soft skills that are required, right?
Exactly. So it was one of those mission statements we made in my program, and my co-teacher and I really pushed, like, we're going to teach you more about life here than we are about computers. We're not just giving you these skills to go get pass tests and get certification. We're also giving you these intangible abilities to say, hey, you can go to work and you can show up on time.
Right.
You can follow direction. You can be a self-starter. You can think like you. I called my Google certification, can you put something into Google and not get get bad information out of it? Can you get good information out?
Right.
Can you think for yourself?
That is one of those things that amazes me because we hire a fair amount of younger people. And the inability to search properly. Because Google is not an answer engine, it's a search engine, right? So whatever you put in, it's going to give you the corresponding out.
Yes.
So your input needs to get better in order to get better results out.
Yep. we call that garbage. It's GIGO is the acronym. It's garbage in, garbage out. If you give Google a crap question, you're going to get one back.
Yeah, right.
And, and those are the things we strive for. And I'm not saying that general public education doesn't give this to you, but the way that education is structured now with special education requirements, incorporated in the classroom, things like that, there's a lot of maneuvering the educator has to do. And it's hard enough. Like my wife's a 17-year educator in math. It's hard enough for her to take care of 150 kids. She's got a lot. I had about 26 to 30 kids a year, but how do I overcome those hurdles maybe where they're needing extra help or extra support in other areas by myself teaching highly technical information? Wow. So it's like a different ladder you have to climb. But, at my school, 60% of our students were special education needs. So you have students of all walks of life. We have students whose parents are CEOs driving McLarens. And then we have students who are getting family support. And, what are these students getting outside versus inside the school? How do we make it fair for everybody? And I will tell you that technical education, I think, is one of the best platforms for students to kind of all come together, no matter where you're from, what you're doing, and kind of make this community and this family and be very successful. I've never seen anything like it before.
So it's what you're kind of talking about is that technical education almost levels the playing field regardless of what happens outside of school.
Absolutely.
Versus so many, because let's be real. If you can afford to drive a McLaren, you can afford to hire a tutor that comes in and teaches specific things, right?
Yep.
But there's very little advantage to how to draw a wire through a wall.
Yes.
Like, can you hire an electrician to come teach? But chances are you won't, because it's not really going to be beneficial.
Nope.
Like it's a fascinating.
Yeah, it's a very weird ecosystem that exists in every community in the United States, especially in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania has a law mandating within so many square miles, I can't remember the exact number, of a public high school and public school district, you have to have a career and technical education center or high school or incorporate those programs into your current high school. And if you don't, you're in violation of educational law.
So let me ask more of I guess it's a theoretical question.
Yeah.
Why do you think we have gotten to a point where we are pushing kids to go to college rather than learning how to swing a hammer?
I think it goes with the idea of you want to give your children better than you had it. So for example, like my family, my dad's parents said, you're going to college right out of high school. So he graduates high school, goes right to 4 years of school, gets a degree, goes and starts working in a career. Very white collar side of my family. My mom's side of the family is very blue collar. We're in construction trades, Teamsters, which are truck drivers, transport haulers, things like that. My mom is the only one of her siblings to even graduate from college, and she didn't do it until she was almost 40. After she had me, she went to night school.
Right.
So I think what has happened to that generation is there's such a mix of parents saying, I want you to have it better than I had it. My parents are 70 years old, so they're coming out of the baby boom. Their parents were Great Depression survivors, born into it.
Right.
And I think what's happened is that snowballed. And where my generation, 1980s kids, Gen Y, millennials, whatever you want to call us, our parents said, you're going to go to college because that's one step better than I had it. So if I were to carry on that trend, I got to tell my kids, you got to go get a master's degree because you got to have,
you got to become a doctor.
Yeah. And then my great grandkids are going to be doctors or lawyers or something, going to get, MDs because that's the next progressive step. Okay. And I think that in conjunction with now the rising costs.
Have we reached a point where going to college will no longer make it better for you than your parents had it?
Yeah, I think so, personally.
Okay.
I have a degree in history and political science. And
we could take this conversation.
Exactly. Okay. And I have a degree in history and political science, and my career path has taken me into tech because that's what my passion was.
Right.
Because my parents told me you had to go to college, and I didn't want to go. So I said, fine, I'll pick. They didn't have really good computer programs where I went and where I could get in because of my learning disabilities and stuff like that. I had a hard time. My grades weren't the best. So I said, all right, I'll go do history because I love that. But for the last decade and a half, I've been in IT and telecommunication, tech education.
So you basically spent whatever dollar amount you spent on college to not
use it at all.
Yeah. Which is interesting because we actually had a guy on, he's a college advisor. Mm-hmm. And some of the numbers he threw out there for like people that drop out after the first year, people that drop out after the second year, people that actually end up working in the field that they went to school for is like nominal.
Yes.
Like it's staggering, right? And then I always hear the arguments for, but college teaches you processes. They teach you to think independently. There's all these things that come with it. And I'm like, but most certifications, most workplaces, you will learn that regardless, right? So I'm like, and I'm all for college, right? A lot of people think because I knock it. I just think it's gotten to a point where it has become overrated because people go without having no clue what they want. I think your mom did the smart thing. Go join the workforce for a few years.
Yep.
Figure out what you actually like, and then go to college, right?
Bingo. Yes. And I think that's. I think where it is, a lot of people, everyone, my dad told me flat out, he goes, you're not going to go take that year to find yourself. You're graduating, you're going. Okay. I said, okay, whatever you want, man. Dad, I'll do whatever you say because you're paying the bills. So I'm not going to fight that.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's also where career and technical education can help because we had 22 programs, I think, when I left at my school, everything from medical assistant, dental assistant, welding, construction framing, construction trades, more general contracting, plumbing, electrical, air conditioning, multimedia technology, sports medicine. So if you want to go be a physical or occupational therapist, foundational skills in that.
It's huge.
What else do we have? We had cosmetology. That was the biggest program. Mm-hmm. I taught computer networking. And then we had culinary.
Yep.
So they're teaching students how to not only cook, but run kitchens, run restaurants, all the parts of that business. I'm trying to go around the building with a loop in my head. We have public safety, if you want to be a paramedic, firefighter, police officer, we had foundational classes in that. And, we're doing real stuff. Those fire students, they were out in the burning simulators over at the county in Bucks, like, going up ladders and putting fires out.
Like doing the actual work.
Exactly.
Like prep work.
Exactly. Our building trades teacher, he always would come up with, he had the craziest projects. They would build mock bathrooms and they would do a full 3-piece bath in the classroom.
Oh, wow.
Plumb it. It had to have drains that didn't leak. It had to have electrical up to code. It had to have, your pedestal sinks, your toilets, your toilet bases, everything.
So like full build outs.
Yeah. And our construction framing teacher, we would build a house that would bring all the trades in. They would build a modular 2-story colonial. And
At the school.
At the school. They just sold the one. They're getting ready to start the next one.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Talk about real life experience, like stuff you need.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, because I'll give you another example because, well, I get around.
It's okay.
But I remember a few years ago, we were in the Home Builders Association. And the average builder when we joined was something like 53 years old.
That's shocking to me.
It was shocking to me, too.
Pardon me. Yeah.
The sad thing is, we were in that association for 3 years. During those 3 years, the average age of a home builder went up 6 years.
That's bad. It's going the wrong direction.
Correct. That was one of the things. And that's when I started looking at a lot of these things and I started talking to people. And I'm like, why are we losing all these trades, right?
Yeah.
And then at the same time, we have people complaining, oh, we're not building enough houses. There's not enough homes.
Yes.
And I'm like, well, yeah, we've kind of created the situation where we don't have people to build the houses. Like we're building fewer houses this decade than we've done any previous decade. And part of the problem is you can't get people to build.
You can't, and it's impossible. I called a plumber the other day and said, hey, I need a new hot water heater. The other day was a month ago. He said, I'll get back to you.
Yeah. You'll have hot water by summer.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
The hot water heater hasn't failed, but it's on the verge, but I'm still waiting. And I think it goes along with that, how many people you meet in life who will praise the trade. Oh, they came in and they saved me.
Yes.
Hey, your kid wants to go to tech school. No, I don't want him to do that. Why? Well, there's a stigma. Of what?
Right.
You were on the ground thank you.
You just paid $400 for a plumber to come up because there was water running all over your floor, right?
Yeah. And I think like when I was in high school, I would have gone to the same tech school I taught at. I didn't go because that's where the bad kids went. That's where the kids who were kicked out of school went.
Right.
And it was a negative. And every school is going to have their problems. Every school has their troublemakers, the ones who stir the pot. But tech school is so far from that now.
Oh, yeah.
The kids have to apply. Like they couldn't get into my program unless they had guidance sign off saying they were a good student at their home school. They had to wait in line basically, like first come, first serve to get in. And I always had a waiting list every year. We were the second most popular program in the school, behind what you do, multimedia and technologies.
Well, this is
promotion, but like videography.
Correct, and that's not going away either.
Nope.
Right. But yeah, it's funny because I have a buddy of mine. He's 25, 26 years old. Mm-hmm. Originally went to college, did 1 year. The only reason he went is because he got a golf scholarship.
Awesome.
Dropped out after 1 year. Started doing what he actually likes, construction. Mm-hmm. He now builds decks, on people's,
Everyone wants a nice deck.
Right, and that's the thing. And I asked him the other day, how much are you making a year? And he's like, well, because the deck building in the state we're in only happens for 8 or 9 months a year.
Yep.
And he's like, during the other 2 or 3 months, I go out and do side jobs for people because he used to do roofing. He used to do all kinds of stuff. Mm-hmm. And versus at my daycare, we have a teacher there that went to a local college, has $56,000 in college debt right now, making probably less than $25 an hour, paying off her school loans. My buddy is averaging $47 an hour throughout the year.
It's crazy.
Doing construction.
Mm-hmm.
He is already at a point at 25 years old where he's looking at buying a house.
Yes. It is, I will say that it takes the dedication, right? Mm-hmm. You have to be all in on it.
And it's hard work.
Yes.
Like,
I mean, yeah, it's hard work. It's insane work if you think about it. My parents just got a deck. My neighbor's their contractor. I just watched him basically build a deck with a roof overhang by himself.
right.
And I go, I couldn't do that. I get up on a ladder and I go, hey, 10 feet's good enough for me. And he's
like
hanging off the roof having a great time.
Carry 2x4s for an hour and see how you feel afterwards, right? Like,
Exactly. And it takes a dedicated person to think about these careers this way. The biggest thing is when you're going into these trades, it's people want to see motivation. They want to see that commitment, right? My mission statement was, there's difference between passions and interest. An interest is something you might read about, watch TV about every once in a while, dabble in, right? Like I want to be a mechanic. I changed my spark plugs. That's my interest.
right.
I said a passion is something that without it, you're not you. And you people can tell you've changed or you're off. For me, I love computers and technology so much. It's my true passion that if we get a busy weekend and I can't go fiddle with something, my wife looks at me and goes, can you just go away for an hour and just go up in the office and come back? Because like you're acting weird. It physically changes the way you behave.
Right.
And I think that's the driving force with career and technical education is these students are showing passion for something. And a lot of times, especially where I would say 85% of our kids, the parents are like, what you're doing is amazing for my child. Please continue. The other 15 take some, a little bit, there's a little, they have to buy in. They have to see it working. But when they see their kids succeed, they're like, I never would have thought to do this, but this has been one of the best experiences of their lives.
So once again, are we fueling the problem because we're not introducing kids to a lot of, like,
I would say yes.
The average kid does not get to hang out with someone doing a DIY project at home or running electric or see how plumbing is really done or any of this stuff. Like, how are they supposed to get introduced to this if we're not showing them as parents?
That's a good question. I would say my parents were very big DIY. They did everything. So I was exposed to a lot of stuff. I can do a lot of things because I saw it. And I have a lot of friends who are in the trades who kind of said, no, do it this way. I don't know where we lost it. I was born in 86 and my parents were big on like, hey, we're replacing that hot water heater. Oh, dishwasher blew up, just drop it off. We'll put it in. I don't know where we lost it. I don't know. I think the quick thing that people blame is, oh, it's the phones or the television. But I always say, look, every generation has its own problems. The 60s and 70s, don't listen to the rock and roll too loud.
Right. Like,
the 80s were...
Don't listen to Elvis. He'll poison your mind, right?
Exactly.
Like, yes.
The 80s were get away from the TV. You're too close. Like, don't... and I think that our phones and technology are just that to our society now. I think it's just people want it now. Can I learn how to replace my sink trap? Yeah, but I got to sit there for 45 minutes and Google it, or I can call somebody while I'm working in the office upstairs and they can just come fix it.
Right.
So I think that's a part of it. But where we truly lost that direction, I have no idea.
And it's funny because, like, even to that instant gratification, and this is something that's been brought up on multiple episodes, is like DIY shows. Hey, let's move the toilet from there to there. We go to commercial, we come back.
Done.
And that's done, right? And then you go, but that'll take a plumber like 6 hours. Like, that'll take the drywall guy 3 days, like whatever it is, right? But no, it was 5 minutes on the TV show, right? So, this stuff is easy. Like,
oh, yeah.
No.
Well, that's the other thing, too, is, we'll do this whole home renovation in 3 weeks. How? What magic?
Because we have 40 people in a crew that you don't see that's going to be here for 12 hours.
They're all swinging their hammer in their hands like, hey, can you get out of the way? We really need to go fix this. And I think it goes back to that instant gratification. You see, that toilet moved. A plumber comes in and goes, hey, that's going to be $800. And you go, well, that's insane. And you go, well, you're not going in the crawl space. You're not making 3 trips to Home Depot. He's not charging you gas to do that. He's not charging you you're not receiving that years of expertise, I should say, right? That's what you're paying for. You're paying for, hey, I'm going to get in there and it's going to be done right.
Right.
And you have to go, okay, I'm going to trust you on that.
It's the classic story of the guy that got called out to the old factory and they had something like a boiler or something that wasn't working.
Yep.
And the guy shows up with a hammer, right? And he walks alongside the tank and he walks and then he feels around and then he takes the hammer and hits it once and the thing just starts up.
Yep.
And then he sends a bill for $15,000, right? And they go, but all you did was swing a hammer once. And he's like, yes, I charged you $15 for that. The other $14,000 was for knowing where to hit.
Exactly.
Right? And that's the stuff that often gets lost with the trades is
Yes.
knowing how to do something properly is generationally passed, right? Building to code does not mean it's built right.
No.
It just means it's built to minimum requirements
Yep.
that they require.
Yes.
Right? So it's fascinating to see, and it's concerning to see, that it's almost like we're going to lose a generation of people working in the trades.
Yeah.
It's almost like, I feel like it's almost going to skip a generation because that generation was so focused on being put through college and all that stuff. So it's going to go from the 50-year-old somethings straight to the 20-year-old somethings.
Absolutely.
It's
And
that generation is not going to be the one passing it on.
I know, and I think it's most of my generation that missed that. And I think that's why now you see a lot of parents my age whose kids are going on the precipice of, middle school, eventually high school, and they're going, no, that's definitely a viable option for you. Because I think people don't want to pay for college anymore. And just what you said.
It's become an experience rather than an education.
Exactly.
Right? Like it's
100%. And I think that's why Career Tech Ed's blooming right now. The school I taught at is at capacity, if not over capacity. Like they had to bring the fire marshal in to validate there was enough space in the building. That's how many kids wanted to come. And they, the administration and staff, like you said, we're trying to fill that gap. There was a need to say, hey, there might be a million general contractors out there. Then that's fine. Because the demand for housing is up, however many X percent. We need people to build houses. Yes. We need people who can run wire in a correct, nice fashion to make it look, and to fit what it needs to do.
So do you think we're facing a shortage of tech schools right now? Like, are we at a point where we need to start looking at it and going, we need more of these rather than having one for every 4 high schools, we might need 2?
Yes. Or at least expand the capacity of these buildings. So the school I was teaching at had an issue where the township wouldn't let them expand the facility anymore due to their own development of their open space. So the property of the school held the open space, I believe, for the township, and that's why they were saying no. The second thing, so it's expand it or build more, definitely. The second thing is it's hard to find people to do the job. Because the states consider career and technical education, you're a public educator.
Okay.
So our pay scales are based on what a normal teacher would be making. And I'm going to tell you right now, everybody, what you read in the news, look at me in the camera, is not true. I took a 50% pay cut to go be a career and tech ed teacher.
Versus what you were doing before.
Yeah. Working in telecommunication. I took a 50% on the nose. So that's what I'm saying. It's a passion. You have to have it. And you're not getting paid. You might leave a career where you're getting overtime. You might be making $90,000 a year. And they go, oh, well, you don't have a college degree yet, so we're going to have to get you one. So you're going to start one step for every 2 years in the field. So you'll start step 5 out of 13. That could be $52,000 a year.
Right. So you go from making 90 to 50.
Exactly. So on top of not enough capacity, now you got to find the right person to do it, right? And that's also not just pay. That's dealing with other teacher roles, paperwork, contacting parents, especially in career and tech ed. You have to have committees and stuff. Occupational advisory committees is what they're called. In the state of Pennsylvania, you have to come in 2 meetings a year. You have to do curriculum review, and you have to do the lab environment review. So they have to come in and look at the building and say, yeah, you need to buy this tool. This is the new thing we're using. So like pro pressing for plumbers, the crimp-on connectors, and like our school had to go buy a set of ProPress equipment, and that's a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
That, by the way, go back to the money thing. We're on public education budgets. So like you have to file for grants or get donations, a multitude of things to try to fund now. We're not just buying books. We're buying tools. We're buying lumber. We're buying, uniforms for kids. They're trying to pay for them. But go back to my previous comments, all walks of life. You have 5-10% of your school who's on assistance. We're buying their uniforms for them, and we're trying to help them be successful. So
you would really think that, and I know there's a couple of, like the Home Builders Association actually does try to contribute to tech schools.
They do. The PBA for us was huge. Our students would go to the meetings every year.
Right. It's the Pennsylvania Builders Association.
Yes, sorry. Pennsylvania Builders Association. Sorry for the acronyms, everybody. But they would farm kids out. They'd say, when you're graduating, I'll have a job for you in a year and a half if you're interested. Right. We did work programs. Kids their senior year, instead of going to do like work release in a public high school, could be like you go work at CVS or you go sit and file paperwork at the school district. Like you do something. Right. Our work programs were, hey, you come in once a week just to say hi, and then the next 4 days you're out on the job site, sweating pipes, framing houses,
like doing the actual work.
Yep. We had students in my program in local IT consultancies going out to actual people's businesses, running network cable, putting gear in, doing computer build outs.
So they're actually prepared by the time they come out.
Absolutely.
They've done not only the theoretical work, but a lot of times they've done the actual physical work that's needed.
In two places, in a lab environment where they're being trained and supported, and then they're going out into the real world, out into that public space to say, oh yeah, can you follow boss's directions? Can you actually put those skills to use?
Right. Can you show up on time? Can you be a team player? Can you lead a team?
Yep. And these kids are so well trained. Some of them are getting they go to the local plumbing contractor and he's giving them a truck day one. Like, this is your truck. Yeah. You're not riding shotgun with me. You're getting the truck. Vehicle. So they're doing what they need to do to be successful. It's crazy. It is absolutely, when you see their drive versus some other students' drive, you go like, where was that?
It was funny because when my older daughter was born, and I was setting up an investment account for her, my wife goes, "Are you setting up one of those that she can start pulling money out of when she goes to college?" And I'm like, "Absolutely not."
No.
And she's like, "Why?" And I'm like, "Because I want her to be an electrician." She's like, "What?" "No, she's going to college." And I'm like, No. She's going to learn how to run wire, because by the time she's ready for this in 12 years, there's going to be more money in being an electrician than almost any college degree that you graduate with.
Yeah.
And she's like, "What?" And I'm like, just look at it. Just look at the job market right now.
Pennsylvania College of Technology is up in northern central Pennsylvania above Penn State. And if you go through their catalog, they have so many programs. Like, say, hey, you want to go to college? Well, she's going to go to college to be an electrician then. Right. Like, okay, well, I found a technical college now that does what, you know, and it's definitely a different mindset. My wife was like, our kids are going to go to college. And then when I started teaching at the high school, she went and she saw what was going on. She went, oh, maybe no. Like, they're going to do what they want to do.
Yes.
And if this is the path, this is what we support.
It's really what it boils down to is we need to get rid of this stigma that trades aren't successful. Like, just because you work in the trades doesn't mean you're not successful. And I was asked about it because once again, I talk to so many people in businesses and startups and all that stuff. If someone asked me if I was starting a business today, what would it be? And I looked at it and said, if I look at the people that I know and all the business owners that I know, like hundreds of them, I'm like, the people that are the best off right now are the people that own businesses that are in the trades.
Yes, 100%.
Like, by far.
It's hard. Let's not sugarcoat it. It's a struggle. They have to build clientele, but yeah, you're getting paid for niche work and you're in demand. And people think it's niche. I see people all over the place. I said, well, then you go build your house. Right. No, that's the niche. Yeah. That,
I know a tree guy has 3 employees. They gross, I don't know, $4.5 million a year.
It's craziness.
With 4 or 5 guys. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, the equipment he has is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Oh, absolutely. There's overhead.
But I'm like, most businesses that I know that have 4 or 5 employees are not grossing that type of money. Like,
No.
not in a million years.
No. And kind of going on the money state, and the money point, you make money, but then that's the thing that is almost, I think, kind of hampering you getting there, is the money. I know the state of Pennsylvania works in some weird ways. They give money directly to all the schools. But in some communities, especially ours, how career and technical education works is you pay your property tax that goes to the school district. Then they are the intermediary between the tech school.
So your school board controls how much money you
Bingo.
get.
So my next statement might be slightly...
So we start unraveling, right? So now
Yes.
who is on your school board starts mattering a ton.
Yes, and I will tell people right now, not every school board, even though they say they support career and technical education,
Does.
actually pays for it.
No.
So absolutely, like if you say, hey, I want my student to go to a trade school, I want them to do X, Y, Z, start now looking at, well, what are you doing for that trade school? Because that tax millage goes to them, and then they go, oh, hold on.
Right.
How much do you need? Because they pay per head count. They pay a flat rate per student, and then the state supplements the rest. But the state says, don't come to us for everything. You got to
go to your local.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, so you got to pay to play. And that's a big fight because I talked about that expense, right? We have more expense. Go into our auto shop.
Oh, yeah.
There's 9 lifts, full paint booths for body work, automotive repair. They're doing ASE certification sometimes on cars that were made in 1995 because it's hard to get demo vehicles or people who want to donate something new, right? Fred Beans isn't rolling up with a brand new Chevy van or car and going, hey, you can just have this to take apart.
We can talk to him.
We should probably do that.
I have access.
Oh, awesome. Then we're gonna, I think, Rob and Paul would love me if we worked on that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's, it comes down to that. And then when you start to talk about that tax millage going to a school district, for example, as big as, let's say, North Penn or Quakertown.
Which in our area are
very
large.
Crazy large school districts. And, not every school was put together the way I did. Some career and tech heads like Lower Bucks County, that is a full high school. They go to the same building every day for core and then
they
career
don't
tech
get
ed.
transfer between.
Nope.
Right.
They walk from one end of the building to the other, but the money still played the same way.
Right.
So you got to pay attention, everybody, who you're asking to run your schools, because if you truly believe in this and they say they believe in it, make them pay for it.
Right.
Because it's always a battle. They say they want it, and then they see the bill, and they go, oh, I don't know if I can do that.
So to kind of wrap this up, I'm going to ask 2 final questions.
Go for it.
One, if you are a parent and you're looking at what should I introduce my child to as far as possibility for work or a possibility for career, what would you tell them to do?
2 parts. I would say 1, look and see what they're into. Right now, my oldest, she's the Lego design kid. She's building stuff all the time. She wants to be hands-on with, I think about it, I conceptualize, and then I do. And then the second thing is if your child, or as we like to call them, your student, is saying something to you, going, I really am interested in this, give them that time to go experience it. They do career days at most tech schools where they'll take the kids over from their home school and let them be in the program for a half a day and see what they're doing. If it sounds apprehensive, or if you sound apprehensive, you're like, I don't know about that. They do open houses. Go yourself. Say hi to the teacher. See what the lab looks like. And really just try to get as much information as you can. Sometimes what people forget is, well, my student wants to go into medical. Well, why wouldn't you put them into a medical assistantship program in a career and tech ed high school or tech center? Because they're going to get 3 years of that 1 to 200 level knowledge.
And then when you apply to something like the colleges in Pittsburgh that have a very limited nursing program, or they're going to look at that and go, oh, they already have some of the basics.
Yeah, they got a 3.5 or 4.0 GPA in a career medical field already.
Right.
Come on, we'll talk to you first. I can't promise that, but
all of that stuff has started making a difference. That's
Absolutely.
what I find out when we had the college advisor on here. Is he's even telling kids, if you want to be a nurse, go get Red Cross certified. Go get these certifications. Go
Exactly.
do all these other things, because colleges are no longer just looking at your base grades.
Yeah.
Because they can pick and choose some of their students for these types of professions or education.
Yeah, especially in these highly competitive fields.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say. You want to pay attention to your kids, see what they're interested in, and just listen to them.
So the very last question.
Go for it.
Someone that did what you did, went to college and go, oh my God, I really don't want to do this, but I got to finish it because my parents told me to do so. And
Yeah.
then they want to go do something else.
Mm-hmm.
How do you just go from, okay, now I'm just going to ignore that I have this college degree and I'm going to go do what I really want?
I followed my heart.
Okay.
So when I graduated in 2009, in 2005, when I went to college, they said, there's going to be so many jobs. All these people are going to retire. It's going to be the biggest retirement wave you've ever seen. Crickets, 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 crickets. I applied to 150 jobs before I got one.
Okay.
And for me, what it was, is my heart was always in computers and technology. It's what I did my whole life when I came home. It's what I did on the weekends when I wasn't hanging out with my friends, building computers, figuring out how to get the most out of them, building computers for people, repairing computers for people. And when I left college, and people have been telling me for 4 years, why are you going to this school? You should transfer and go somewhere else. And I was stuck in that experience, I guess, and I didn't. When I left school, I said, okay, my first job was with a subsidiary of Nokia, and I was doing data management for them. And I said, all right, I got a lot of night shifts to sit here. I got the books out. I started studying, and I just put my heart really fully into it, and I've been successful ever since. So just stop trying to suppress the voices. If it's what you think you want to do, just go do it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Appreciate y'all.